And in this next part of my podcast, I really just want to tackle the fact that I make time to check out new productivity apps. And I've talked about how in another video, how I ended up going through and finding Notion, how I found all these different productivity apps. But I want to talk a little bit about how you can schedule a little bit of time into your week to try to improve some of your systems, which will lead you to content consumption about self-development, about productivity apps, about different things that can really make you improve your life on a weekly basis. So first of all, on Mondays, generally speaking at the moment, because my schedule and the framework that I have changes I want to say every few weeks, but I tweak it, and that's moving forward with what I'm about to say. I have this time slot called system improvements. And when I go through that, I go and I change my schedule to fit any new needs, fit any new tendencies, any new trends that are happening in my life, as well as I look up and search different productivity apps. I look and search different productivity apps, new podcasts I can listen to, new types of YouTubers that are making good content, whether it be self-development or just entertainment based. I think it's important that you schedule about an hour a week and you take and you look and say, okay, is there anybody new on the platforms that I listen to or watch that are really doing well right now? Are there any different platforms that have new content creators that are making videos that I would enjoy, that are making podcasts that I would enjoy? Or is there a new app out there? I know when ClickUp was introduced to me, I thought it was very interesting. It ended up being something that I looked into, and that is another way that I found different apps like Brave. Now, that actually came through a podcast, my last podcast. Brave is not a productivity app more than it is just a better version of Chrome, or a different version of Chrome for those who like Google Chrome. Brave is a Chromium-based, which is like the original type of web browser that is not through Google Chrome. It doesn't have a lot of the bloated software and doesn't take up as much space on your computer, yada, yada. And when you go and you schedule time in your week to try to improve the different aspects of your content consumption, and it doesn't actually have to be improvement more than it's just like fun research in a way. Because to me, if I found something that was better than Notion in this hour a week, it would save me innumerable amounts of time. Now, I don't believe that's going to happen. I think the systems I have at the moment are fine in regards to Notion, but I did make some changes recently in my Notion, and my Notion changing a lot is fine for this Notion or this system improvements time. So I actually have an embed and add-ons in my Notion now. So add-ons are not something that's I knew about until recently, until I did this Notion improvements, system improvements time of my week. And I went and I watched one of my buddy's videos, Danny Hatcher, who you've seen in multiple podcast episodes. And he's like, yeah, I'm a Notion purist, but here are some different add-ons. So shout out to you for making that video. And then I went and I took the time to try to implement some that could work for me. And there's this little widget in one of the different add-ons that he showed, basically, which can implement a Google Calendar showcase, like a little bit of, or you can have, whether it's month, week, day, month, week, day of a little Google Calendar snippet. So you take your Google Calendar, it turns into a widget on Notion. In my daily planner now, there's a little Notion widget that has Google Calendar there, so I can see what I'm supposed to be doing in this hour. On the day. So for example, if I have like 20 minutes left in my work time before lunch, I see that on my daily planner, because my daily planner is kind of where like one of my screens is open all the time, and it shows like how many tasks I have for the day, what my habits are, so I can like quickly see it, what I gotta post, and I'll check it off and it'll disappear after I do a task, right? So my thought was, if I put this Google Calendar on there, that's perfect, because then I have a great reference point. I don't need an entire tab of Brave now, but like my Google Calendar has a shortcut which looks like it's its own app, but you can do that on the computer. Anyways, I don't need to have the Google Chrome page open, not Google Chrome, Google Calendar page open on my computer, because I just have this little thing that's right next to where all my tasks were, and right next to what my main source of reference is when I'm having to work on stuff. So that systems improvement is something I think everyone should do. So when you're researching productivity apps, take an hour a week, take something tangible within your week and try to improve on what you're doing. Try to improve on the different parts of your life that you enjoy, that you don't enjoy. Because if you don't do that little bit of reflection and then improve upon it, you're just kind of sitting on information, sitting on what you're doing. And well, you don't need to always improve. This can be something that's literally just fun. For me, going and finding these different Notion improvements is just fun. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with keeping things the way they are. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with keeping things the way they are, if that's what you want. However, I think it's important to at least reflect. And for me, I used to do this reflection, as I've talked about on my channel, where I just would, kind of write and answer I did like a Q&A for myself every week. I felt like I'd filled out a reflection post. And it didn't work for me. Journaling worked for me, and this is working for me because I'm reflecting on the different things that I don't like about my week and continuously updating it if I so choose to do it. So that's my opinion on how you can find different productivity apps, how you can find new content to consume, and how in this podcast I've talked about you basically can go through and look at the different types of content that you consume and assess how you consume them. And that's why I was able to make an entire podcast about how I go about navigating my self-development journey, because I do this every week. I reflect every week. And I'm not saying people don't reflect every week. I'm just saying if you don't, you would have found it. If I didn't, I would have found it pretty hard to make. If you want to see this episode or any other episode of the Rise Productive podcast, make sure to go and check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else that you can find podcasts today.